I heard you wanted to learn how to make waffles from scratch. Let's do it. So I personally think that waffles are one of those things that don't taste as good as the days progress, especially after like day 2 or 3. So the recipe I'm going to be teaching you today is a small batch waffle recipe. It makes about 2 to 3 waffles, which is absolutely perfect. I have a medium-sized bowl here, and we're going to start this recipe off by mixing up all of our dry ingredients. So first, to go in the bowl is going to be all-purpose flour. I have mine in this giant Ziploc bag because I like to keep my flour in the fridge just to avoid any type of weevils or anything to grow within my flour. That is very common, especially if your kitchen is very hot or it's the summertime. So in this bowl, I'm doing 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Then we're going in with 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And make sure you guys are measuring this. Don't have your baking soda or baking powder as a mound like this. Make sure you scrape the top off. So that is a proper measurement every time. So that goes in. Then we're doing a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt. You can use whatever salt you have in your house. And the same thing about not mounding your salt applies here too. Scrape that top off so it's an even layer. Then for me, all food needs some type of seasoning. That includes waffles, pancakes, breakfast items. So we're going in with some ground cinnamon, using a teaspoon of that. And if you end up doing a little bit more than a teaspoon, that's fine. I personally think you can never have too much seasoning. Then I'm going in with some nutmeg. So I personally like to use nutmeg pods. So let me show you what one looks like. So this is what a pod looks like whole. This is what your ground nutmeg is made out of. And I am working my way down on one of the pods. So I usually like to look for that one if I'm going to be using nutmeg. So this is what it looks like when you are grating it and all the things. It ends up coming down to like this. So I have my designated grater. I just bought this specifically for my nutmeg. Isn't it just adorable? This thing is literally the size of my thumb. So I'm gonna take my nutmeg and carefully grate it into the bowl. And I'm grating this so that it comes to about 1/4 of a teaspoon. The reason why I prefer to use nutmeg pods over ground nutmeg is because I think that the pods hold more of a bold flavor as opposed to the pre-ground nutmeg. So this is an absolute staple and must in my household. And these pods actually last a very long time. So it isn't something that you would be buying on your weekly, monthly, or even yearly grocery list. And as you can see, it comes out into these little shavings. See if you can see those light brown spots, that's the nutmeg. And I honestly think nutmeg may be one of my favorite spices. Next, we're going in with a little bit of a sweetener. So I'm doing some regular sugar here, about 2 tablespoons. And then I'm also going in with a little added fiber, which is going to be my ground flax seeds. This is completely optional. I just like to add more nutrients to my meals, so that's why I'm adding it. And this is going to be about a tablespoon of that. Now we just whisk all of our dry ingredients together to make sure that it is evenly incorporated before we start working on our wet ingredients. The first of our wet ingredients is going to be milk. You could use any type of milk you want. It could be cow's milk, it could be almond milk, it could be oat milk. I'm using soy milk because this is what I have in the fridge. And it also adds a little bit more protein to this dish. We're going to be using 1 cup. Now I want this milk to be a little bit room temperature. I literally just took this straight out the fridge. So I'm going to put it into the microwave for about 10 to 15 seconds just to warm it up a bit. I also need 2 tablespoons of butter. Again, you can use any butter you like. I'm using this Earth Balance plant-based butter. If you have the sticks, it's definitely easier to just cut 2 tablespoons and melt it. I don't have that, I have the tub, so I literally just take my tablespoon measure and drag it over the top and then flatten it out a bit until I get a tablespoon and drop it into whichever microwavable dish I'm using to melt it. Come on. And stick that in the microwave too. Okay, so all of our wet ingredients are prepped. What I like to do is I just take the bottom of a cup, bowl, whatever, and I make a well in the middle of our flour so that I have space in the middle to hold all of my liquids before mixing it all together. Just wipe off the excess flour. Then I'm gonna go in with 2 eggs right into the middle of our well. 1 and 2. I like to give the eggs I like to break up the yolk a little bit just so that it's easier to mix together and it'll get evenly incorporated. And then we go in with the rest of our wet ingredients, one being vanilla, something that is also very important because we want our waffle to be flavorful. I'm gonna do a teaspoon of that. Then go in with our melted butter. It's okay if you have a little bit of lumps from the butter. It's not that big of a deal. And then also our milk. And from here, it's okay if you kind of fall out of the well lines because now we are whisking everything together, ensuring that we don't have any types of lumps. The goal is to make sure that your batter is nice and smooth. And that's what we've achieved right here. So now we have to preheat our waffle iron. Now how your waffle preheats is all dependent on the type of waffle iron you have. Like for me, I just plug mine in and the power light comes on right here. And I kind of just wait for the red light to turn green. And I also have my setting up to almost max because I like my waffles to be crispy and well done. So you could change and toggle with that depending on your personal preference. I've actually had this waffle iron for many, many years. My sister gave this to me for Christmas, God knows how many years ago. But yeah, she's still kicking and we love her. Okay, so I've got the green light, which indicates that my waffle iron is hot and ready for my batter. So we open it up, and let me just zoom out for you guys a little bit. And I'm going to spray the iron with a neutral oil just so that the batter doesn't stick. I'm using avocado oil. And make sure you get all the grooves, and you do it on the top and the bottom. Then I take a ice cream scooper, scoop out some of our batter, and put it directly into the middle of our waffle iron, making sure that the bottom is coated with our batter. Do a little bit more. And then we close it, let it do its thing, flip it for mine, and we wait for the ready light to kind of go back off again. If you do see steam rising out of your waffle iron, do not be afraid. It's just the waffles doing its thing. And as you can see, my indicator light just went off. So now we could check to see if our waffle is to our liking. So I just flip it back and open it up. For me, this waffle is too white, so we close it right back and let it go for another round. The indicator light went off again, so we're gonna check for a second time. I like to think of my first waffle as my tester waffle to see if I have the temperature right, if I have enough batter in there and all these things. So do not be discouraged if your first waffle looks a little crazy. That's kind of what it's there for. So I still don't like how white this is looking, and it's still a little soft. So I'm going to turn up my dial to a higher heating point just so that my waffle could crisp up a little bit more, and we're gonna go back in for a third time. There is no right or wrong way to do this part. It's all a matter of your personal preference on how you want your waffle to look like. Now, there will be instances when your first waffle just won't let you be great, so you just take it off. So you use a fork so you don't burn yourself. Just poke a little corner, lift it up, and drop it onto a plate, making sure to get any stragglers off your waffle iron too. And then you re-oil your plates and go in with more waffle batter until you're done with all your waffles. Once all your waffle batter is cooked, you should come out with 3 full-size Belgian waffles. And with this, I also want to show you guys a quick hack. I like to have some type of berry of some sort on top of my waffles when I eat them. And unfortunately, berries are not in season all year round. So what I like to do is buy some frozen berries from my local grocery store. These are from Trader Joe's. And I get a scissor to open them up and pour maybe about 1/4 of a cup to 1/2 of a cup of these berries into a microwavable dish. And then I microwave it for about 10 to 15 seconds just so that everything defrosts. I actually ended up microwaving these berries for about 35 to 45 seconds, so that's a correction with the directions before. But once you do that, you get this syrupy goodness at the bottom of your berries. And you could just take that and put it directly on top of your waffle. And not only does it make your waffle look beautiful, now you have some added fiber, added flavor, and it's just absolutely wonderful. I do this every time I have some waffles. You could also reheat these berries over the stove too. It doesn't have to be in the microwave. And here you have your scratch-made Belgian waffles. I hope you enjoyed this quick waffle tutorial. Let me know in the comments what you would like to learn next. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, healthy does not mean boring.